Excellent. You just have to get an application to Francisca
Okay.
and council appoints. So she'll figure all that out for us.
Okay.
Hi. Oh, I forgot already. Thank you. You're awesome. And
Thank
it's even my
you,
favorite
Rachel.
color. Did you pick this color on purpose?
No, I just like that.
So because we don't have a chair or a vice chair currently, who thinks they've been serving the longest? John, have you
No.
been? We just need you to call the meeting.
I don't know,
order.
a year. I've been here a year.
Very good items, yes.
Or more.
This is the core.
This is a quorum.
Oh,
So
barely.
we have one vacancy and Sharon Grumbles is not present. So
Oh, wow.
normally Sharon and one other person would be here.
Okay.
But the
Well,
chair stepped down, Sheree Stunts, and then Sharon was vice chair. So John, will you do us the honors of calling the meeting to order and reading agenda items?
Sure.
Thanks.
I can do that. No, thank you. All right, so Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. It's Monday, April the 4th, and it's about 5 after 5, and so I'm going to call the meeting to order. So I'm welcoming new appointed Parks and Recreation Advisory Board members. So who might that be?
Hi, my name is Michelle Hammock.
Hi, Michelle.
And then Grace was just renewed for her term.
Okay.
Michelle, do you want to share what made you interested in joining the board
Yeah.
and maybe a little history of your time in Port A?
I've lived in Port Aransas for 5 years. In January, it was 5 years. Built a house in a new subdivision, and 3 weeks later, Harvey destroyed it. And so we had to rebuild the house. But I have grandchildren that live here, and they're very involved in all the activities put on by the Parks and Recreation. And so I wanted to give back and help with some of the stuff that y'all do. It's been great so far. So I'm excited to see if we can make it better.
All right. Grace, anything to say?
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for renewing. I didn't even know if I was really renewed or not, but I am.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on
Yeah.
anymore. This is here.
No, I'm fully invested in all aspects of our park systems.
And you have two sweet little
I have
girls.
two sweet little girls that enjoy our parks pretty much any day that they're not vomiting. Honest to God, true story.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I should have said something more about Hurricane Harvey. I saw this community come together like I've never seen before. And everybody says that. And that's what I wanted to be part of, was that community that comes together and helps everybody, helps each other like that. So that's another big reason.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm not new, but do you want me to say?
Yeah.
something?
If you feel compelled, we do have to be out of here by 6.
Elia Garrett is my name, and I have 2 sons here, and my husband is the baseball coach, and so we have a lot invested in the parks area of this town. So we're very grateful for all y'all do.
All right. Yeah, I know James. He's a neat guy. Nice to make the connection.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Don't always claim it.
And I'm John Crumpets. I've been here since basically the first of 2015, and we remodeled a house and rebuilt since
Yeah.
we've been back too. So, and I have a background as a teacher and a coach, and we had a child care center in Cedar Park, Texas for many years before we moved here. So, and I got involved with the after-school program and doing some things with the school. So kids are my interest. All right. So the next item on the agenda is citizens' comments and reports.
I think we've only had one other citizen present at a meeting
We've only had
since
one
I've been the
since I've
director.
been.
So thank
One.
you for doubling our attendance.
makes meetings go quicker though. There's- it's just-
All right, so Colleen has the Parks and Rec Director's Report.
Yeah, and this tends to be the lengthy part, but you guys have it printed in front of you, so I'm gonna really just skip through and make some highlights. You guys are welcome to read, and then if there's something I skip over that you're not,
I had the nature preserve manager report in here. Do you have the director's report?
I don't have it.
I don't.
I have a Nature Preserve Manager Report. but not-
that's weird.
Which is
We need
excellent.
copies of this then.
The Hurricane Harvey Trail. Oh, Boardwalk rebuild.
Mhm.
Can I vote for a rename?
We're not naming that.
Yeah. Yeah.
October 22nd.
Don't mind, they're kind of separated. Take your chunk
Sure.
and pass them on. I think they're just.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. So the big thing that Parks and Rec has been working on is our open space master plan. If you haven't heard me talk about this, you have been hiding under a rock. I think everybody here has been involved. So we just had an advisory council update where we were able to see some of the survey results, and they've also provided to us the beginnings of their report. So they have 2 chapters drafted. One highlights the demographics of our community, and one is a conditions assessment. I haven't even had a chance to look through this yet. So I can email those to you if you want to see them in more detail, or they're available in the office. But they're starting to compile the data that will eventually build the report and the recommendations. So it's very exciting. We had a successful open house with about between 30 and 40 participants. And we did a digital survey online that had 287 responses, which is a pretty good size for this community. And then we had a day of service in the park. We planted a big rain garden next to the new EDA parking lot across from the boat ramps. And there was probably 30 people that showed up for that too. It was a lot of work and they got a ton done. It was pretty amazing.
I have to say, I really like the way they did the open house. I really like, it was very interactive
Awesome.
and it wasn't just going and giving your opinion. It was very interesting. It was.
I liked that
the way-
style
I like the
also.
way they did it. Yeah.
It's it was non-confrontational. It was
Mhm.
interactive. I definitely appreciated the thought that they put into that process. Some other highlights just from grounds and the purchases that we've made. So the way I formatted this director's report is a little different than others. I basically put all of our capital outlays in a list. So all of our big ticket items, and then I put a status next to them. So this is what we planned from last budget year and where we are currently. Tomorrow, I think, is going to be my last day before maternity leave. So for the next 6 weeks, it'll probably stay in this status. We've got the different department heads within Parks and Rec are taking on different portions of my responsibilities. So finance and timekeeping are going to David Lown. The master planning and community programming are going to Ken. Thank you for being here. Ray is going to help with any promotional things going on. And then the pool and surf rescue are kind of just maintaining themselves. We did have a couple of new hires. We onboarded a brand new pool manager today. Her name is Dana Real. You may know her. Her husband is Jerry Verfuth, who leads Little League, and they own the flip-flop shop in town.
Okay.
And then we made an offer to a candidate for a community program coordinator. That position's been vacant for about a month. And it's a phenomenal candidate. She's not officially onboarded yet. So am I allowed to say who it is?
I wouldn't.
Maybe we'll wait until she passes, but she's a phenomenal candidate that has 20 years of experience working for a municipality and 7 of those years for a parks department. So it's, yeah, she's pretty cool. So that's what's going on with that. I'm going to skip down to the next section, the grant funding. Someone pointed out, I made a smarmy comment or something about grant money that I had brought in, and someone was like, does the city council know that? And I said, I'll put it in my next Parks Board report so that they do know. So that's why that's there, but that's just so you know, the grants that are in progress that we're working on, and then grants from when I arrived, what's been brought in. So we've got $7 million in projects ongoing right now, and about $1 million of those have been closed out and finished. So lots of work happening with outside funding entities. Another thing that's been interesting with finance to be able to track is the software that we use, RecDesk. When payments are made through that, I'm then able to look at what revenue we've generated. And so I compared last winter to this winter in that next section down, winter revenue by department. And so you can see what comes in our youth programs, our community programs, and at the pool, we've brought in about $2,500 more than we did last year. And I think that would account for more visitors than we had last year. We're recovering after COVID. And I think we're doing a better job of record keeping as well. So this software that we use has paid for itself, you could say, because we're able to look at these numbers. And we could always look at our income through the finance department, but this breaks it down in a nice, convenient way, looking at after school care fees, camp fees, pool entry fees. It's just another performance measure to help me look at how our programs are doing. Okay, skipping on. Everything there. We talked about the new garden already. The pool new hire. I'm so grateful to Haley Hill. She was the assistant pool manager who carried me through this transition, and she has been phenomenal. So I want to give her kudos. We've got about 10 staff members at the pool right now. I would like to be up over 12 for the summer. That's pretty low for us. We've been kind of, Haley's really been making the schedule work. She's been creative and working her tail off so that we're always covered and we haven't had to close the facility. And we're seeing a little uptick in applications. So I'm hoping that we have a strong summer staff of 12 or more. We actually had to shut down surf rescue hiring because the beach was getting so many good candidates and the pool was at risk of having to close the doors. So we stopped hiring at the beach so that we could hire back up at the pool. And that seems to be working. If you haven't been to the community park, I would encourage you to go over and check out our new pickleball facilities. They are still improving. We're mid-improvement. So they've been resurfaced. The grounds crew did that in-house by themselves. It saved us about $10,000. I think they look fabulous. I could be biased. But we have new fencing coming in around those courts any day now. We're waiting, supply chain issues have slowed down the fence delivery, but it should be arriving really soon. Little League has fantastic participation numbers. They're having a blast out there. They've got new shade over the bleachers that I've been hearing good things about. The nature preserve. Ray actually traveled out of state. She got to go to Tucson and present on natural disaster resiliency to a conference, the Wildlife and Nature Viewing Conference. So that was cool to be represented out of state and brag about our nature preserve progress. I think her feedback was that people had no idea how long it took to recover from a hurricane. They didn't realize we're still building back, that it's a 10-year thing here. So that was cool. This little sign is an example on the right there with the whistling ducks of new signage that's coming to all of the nature preserve sites. So she's been working with a local graphic designer and printer out of Victoria, Cheryl Johnson, and they've designed just some beautiful signs. I'm really excited to see those go up. Nature Preserve partnered with Ken at the school and Youth Birding that actually went and are on their field trip or just ended their field trip. And did we lose anyone?
We have 15 students. And we've had a request from 2 parents to sign up and be a part of it.
Awesome. So good participation from the kids.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
My kiddo went today. He wanted to do it all on his own, so.
Aw, I can't wait to hear what he thought of it.
Me too.
Well, he was excited when he left and he was excited when he came home.
That's a good thing.
Well, that's great. So there's a ton going on right now with FEMA projects in the Nature Preserve. They are beginning the rebuild of the Nature Preserve trails from 361, the southern portion. They are rebuilding the birding center boardwalk that was lost. So we built a new one with other funding, but FEMA's coming back to build what we lost. So there will be kind of like a V or an L out at the birding center with 2 different boardwalks. And then they're also rebuilding a small loop trail that was to the left of the pavilion on Port Street. So not the big one all the way out to Salt Island, but there was like a little one next to the pond with a little viewing platform. They're going to rebuild that one in the same phase. The reason they haven't built the trail out to Salt Island, or they're not doing it yet, is because of all that land that eroded. We're still working on that before we can put trails out there. And Ray has just had amazing volunteers. They did a plant sale this Saturday, and the volunteers partnered with Keep Puerto Rico Beautiful to share the profits of that. And she gets Thursday volunteers every week that just work their tails off. They did a cool volunteer appreciation. They went up to the Coastal Bend Bays and Estuaries Program's Delta Preserve in Odom. And so they got to spend a day out there being appreciated for all the hard work they did all winter long. Surf Rescue, our new Surf Rescue manager, Jackson, has been doing exactly what I asked him to do. I asked him to build a team, and he's done a great job. He's got 16 right now. Like I said, we had to shut it down because everyone wanted to go work at the beach. And so hopefully once the pool's fully staffed, we'll be able to reopen that and he can get the 20 guards that he is trying for. But everyone seems happy. No incidents over spring break, knock on wood. So they're operating like a well-oiled machine, and it's been great. Low maintenance for me. Mr. Karen had 31 students at spring break camp. I think it went really well. We heard good feedback. He's gearing up for summer. We have 8 weeks planned that are solely Camp Marlin. So that's kind of nice because we've been partnering and navigating around the ACE program at the school, which has been very beneficial and lots of participation. But I think we missed having a van and having it be just a parks program where we didn't have to coordinate with anyone. So we have that again this summer with the added benefit of ACE's programs being optional for us. So they're going to run these external programs like Learn to Fish, some exercise-based photography, karate. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. And so our kids can opt in and go from camp to those activities if they want to. It just makes the logistics of working at the school so much easier, though, to have it set up this way. So we're very excited about this summer and how that's going to flow.
I had a quick question. Like, is like that a normal, like 31 students for the spring break camp? Is that a normal amount?
That's pretty average.
Okay.
Yeah, between 30 and 40.
Wow, I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah, summers, we average 50.
Okay,
And we'll have 50 registrations and
Okay.
anywhere from 42 to 50 actually show up every day because, someone gets tired
Yeah.
and wants to sleep.
The last couple of years, there's been wait lists too.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And we actually did have a wait list for spring break. But we were able to open it up and take everybody that was waitlisted.
Cool.
So we were 100% off that.
And then the big news with community programs is longtime program coordinator Pam Green, 14 years serving the community, retired, and we were very grateful for all the hard work she put in. And over the last month, we've interviewed some candidates for her position, and it's tough shoes to fill, but we think that we have a great candidate selected, and hopefully she'll be onboarded later this week. Winter programs were so well attended. It was insane. We had more participation than we've seen in a while. We're looking at this change in personnel as an opportunity to reevaluate what programs we're offering. Some programs like the lunch, brown bag lunch, very little attendance. Some programs like low impact aerobics, packed, people in the hallway fighting to get in. So we're going to look at like where our resources, and the master planning process will help us with this too. But making sure we're delegating resources where they're best served. And so it's an exciting time. This is an opportunity for you guys to provide input to what you'd like to see, because it's a whole new start in a sense. Spring programs are listed there, and the summer program schedule is in draft form. We're really close to finalizing it. I guess some things to note for the spring programs is we added 2 new family-oriented programs. There is an amazing race that is fun challenge activities geared for the whole family. And then there's also an Earth Day themed family craft day in the park. So
It's the 23rd, right?
April 23rd, yes.
What's the race one?
The amazing race is May 14th, and it's at the community park.
Okay.
And I think that there is an age restriction on that, 10 and up.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the challenges, I can't give anything away, but Ken has got some good ones. So I'm very excited to see that. And that's an attempt to try and bring in more family-oriented activities for working families on weekends.
We're very excited about the 23rd. Yes.
Awesome.
And the spring celebration was pretty packed, I bet.
Yeah, I think we counted over 300.
Wow. So are the winter programs geared like a lot for just winter Texans and then?
So it's an interesting that you bring that up, because they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be for anyone who wants to attend.
Sure.
But word on the street is that they were just for visitors. And so we're trying to correct that.
Okay.
We are here to serve our community first.
Okay.
And obviously Winter Texans become a part of our community
Sure,
while they're here, but we want our residents to feel just as welcome
Mhm.
as anyone else
Okay.
at our activities. So
Well,
if you have any ideas on,
cribbage and line dancing and,
is it stuff you would want to go to?
my age stuff.
Yeah.
It's older retired people
And they're
stuff.
packed. Cribbage, it totally fills up.
Yeah.
Drawing totally fills up.
Right.
Line
So it
dancing
just
is kind of
looks like-
open to everyone.
So looking at the activities, it just looks like the winter programs cater to that. I mean, I'm just saying what I see on the paper. And then the
Right.
spring programs and the summer programs, like you're talking, that's more families. So like people visiting with their families here in the spring and summer.
Yeah, some of I guess when I think winter programs, I think of what's listed here, but we also do family-oriented winter activities like the holiday things.
Yes, we see
So-
all of those too. So, okay.
But we are trying to find a better balance
Okay.
of who we're serving and when we're serving them. So I want the community to feel taken care of all year round.
Okay.
And so if there's anything you would like to really, I kept the summer schedule a little light intentionally because we didn't have a
Program.
person selected.
This person can like jump in, it seems like.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they just help with promotion and learning the ropes, spring and summer, and then fall is maybe when they want to start to shape
Experiment.
things and experiment. But this person is someone who could probably, she ran events like as big as Sandfest, like she'd be gonna be fine. And that's my report, unless you have other questions. I tried to
Don't
be as
come late
quick
to
as
the plant
possible.
sale Because they'll be all gone.
Oh,
What's
Yeah,
that?
I went to the plant sale, it was gone. They were
Oh,
gone.
yeah.
They were like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
gotta come.
And
with
there
an
was a
hour.
lot.
like you could do a bigger one because I didn't think I was that late.
Um,
And it,
in the past,
They
we've
don't.
had a retailer come out
Okay.
and sell plants. And I would say that the volunteers provided 5 times more than what that retailer ever brought. I can't believe it. Excuse me. They raised like $1,400 in plant sales.
but I guess I came at like, it started at 9, I think, and I came like at 9:30 and it was like kind of bare bones.
Really?
Yeah. Or I mean, it just seemed like it was very,
Oh, they go quick.
but I saw people walking away with wagons.
Wagons.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was that's the right time of year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess it can only grow
Yeah,
from
there's
here. This
something
is
to
the
think
first
about
time
in the
we did it
future.
with plants that they had propagated.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it can, this is just a start.
Just to start,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, and it was, see, like, you can almost add something even more like social or even like, to appeal to the whole family, like, a little.
Well, the Easter Bunny stuff was going on at the same time, so I
Yeah.
do think we had that
Yeah,
a
that's what
little
I'm saying,
bit.
But like, I mean, if it was like a different time, like if it wasn't the Easter too, it's just like, I mean, it seemed like it was what I'm saying is not even for kids, but just there seemed to be a little social element. Everybody was chit chatting.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
catching
poor day.
up with-
That's kind of poor day. I
you
mean,
know
we're
that
so
you
small.
could expand on that element. Is I'm not just kid
Serve
wise.
some
I know what you're
coffee.
saying. Yeah, I know
They
what
were
you're
and-
getting ready for the Easter Bunny down there, but it seemed like everybody, the people there, I noticed like just enjoying just getting out and talking to people and making it a very social thing.
Yeah, definitely has room to grow. The main volunteer that is in charge of that, his name is Dan McKean, and he runs a nursery in Michigan, or ran a nursery in Michigan. I think he's retired now, but super creative guy. This was really his pet project. He was like, let me do a plant sale for you. Let me propagate, let me size up these plants and we'll make money off of it. And so I think now that we know that he knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
it can only get bigger from here.
Nice.
Except the greenhouse is only so big, so I mean, it can only get
So I don't know.
so much bigger.
But so, I mean, if there was like a little education, like how, like some how-tos involved and
That would be cool.
Or maybe even teaching us how to propagate plants.
Yeah. That would be really
Dan
cool.
would, I bet
That
he
would
would
be
be good
really
at
cool.
teaching that.
Have any of you ever been part of the plumeria sales in Corpus?
No, but I did,
Big
the
deal.
big bloom at the botanical gardens was going on at the same time.
Okay.
Oh, we need to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Kimberly.
Okay, yep.
Yes, let's, John, come on, you're supposed to keep us on task here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is for items for consideration to discuss and take action on pass any of the following. So does anybody want to talk about the presentation and general discussion from the Hath and Associates concerning the,
So they're actually on the line. They're gonna do another
Yeah.
presentation for
okay,
this board.
all right.
It's gonna look really familiar to you, John. And to Grace too. So Maddie, if you don't mind sharing your screen. So for those of you who haven't met, there aren't too many of you in this room. But we're the HAF Parks Planning team. So myself, Kimberly Miller, Raul Orozco, and Maddie Skidmore are 3 of the many people who are working on your team. And we wanted to give you an update on where we've come so far, the schedule, and what we're finding as we work through the Parks and Recreation master planning process with you. Let's hit the next slide. So some of the things that we really wanted to make sure you understand is what the timeline is. It's a pretty fast timeline. We'll look at that in the next slide, and to review those public engagement results, and then to talk about the goals and kind of strategic direction. So as we get into the next stage of starting to make recommendations, making sure that we're all in agreement on the goals side. Let's talk schedule for a second here. So we've gotten a lot of work accomplished. We've really accelerated this process. Normally it's like a 12-month process, but you guys had some constraints in terms of wanting to really get things moving and kickstarted. So what we're working towards is having you a complete plan for review by the fall. And the couple of memos that you have on your plate right now are the back of the envelope, kind of not the back of the envelope, the sort of back room analysis. So what we found in the process of doing parks master plans really throughout the state and across the Gulf South, is that people don't read all of the heavy analysis that goes into plans. And so you're seeing the homework that we're doing to prepare us for the recommendations and the meat of the final plan. So that's not necessarily going to be something we expect everyone in the city to read word for word, but it's showing you our work so that you understand. And we've got a few more memos that are going to be produced between now and August, September, and then it's going to culminate in the preparation of a full plan. So we're going into like heavy work mode right now, since we've gotten a lot of public engagement accomplished, and then we'll come back to you this summer to speak a little bit more in depth about what we're finding. Next slide. So one of the first things we wanted to do is give you a sense of the survey responses. So as Colleen mentioned, we did get about 287 responses, but one of the things we did was kind of filter it for people who hadn't answered a lot of the questions or had given answers that seemed kind of irrelevant and off the wall. So the quality of the data that we're reporting on is really good. So we were very happy with the response rate, and we're going to give you a run through. Raul's going to help work us through some of the responses to the different questions.
That's right. And
let's go to the previous slide though.
Can you go back, Maddie? Thank you. Okay, so with regards to who's responding to our survey, we got a large portion of local residents that are responding to the survey, and of course, we got a slew of other denominations of people that went into the survey. When it comes to if they have children at home or not, we have a very, very even split, and this is something that really comes along in some of our other questions, as well as some of the programming preferences and interest preferences amongst your population is really, really varied because of the high sort of you have a lot of people that have different instances, so different interests come along and come through in a lot of the questions. Great. And then this question talks about, it's just a little bit to get to know what portions of your park system people are visiting and how often these places are visited. So as we can see, the beach is the most visited, and interestingly enough, some of the nature and nature-based portions of your system are a little bit less visited, but as stated very eloquently by Mr. Scott Holt, this may be due to the fact that there are a significant amount of local residents that typically visit more the beach, Roberts Point Park, and Community Park, and maybe these nature-based settings are more visited by tourists and people that are coming from outside of Port Aransas. Great. And when it comes to Hurricane Harvey, I know that was a small point of conversation a little bit earlier in this meeting, but we asked people what sort of changes they noticed after the hurricane, and the number one thing that came through was damage to structures, which, as Colleen has said already, there a lot of this is being addressed right now, has already been addressed, or is in the works of being addressed. And then you guys had significant land loss during the hurricane as well, which a lot of your constituents have noticed already. Okay, and then we asked people to rank their familiarity with the facilities within Port Aransas. A lot of people are familiar with sort of the more the things that really are common in park systems across, Texas and the US, that being active recreation portions, and then a little bit less familiar with maybe facilities, water-based recreation, and natural areas, but relatively even across the board, as you can see there. And as stated previously, with the amount of people that had children at home versus no children at home, we see that there is a really even interest within the top really 4 options within recreational programs that are of interest to those responding. And that will include adult physical activity all the way through adult outdoor education. So there's really even interest within all of those categories. And that may be due to the demographic. You guys have the demographics memo as well. And as you go through there, you be able to see that there's not a very big focus towards the younger population or too huge towards like male or female. So you see a really irregular distribution of population throughout your community. Now, Kimberly will talk about our open house.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raul. And I think, kind of what Raul was expressing is that we really did see like you're going to have probably a fairly demanding population in terms of what they expect from your parks, because you have young families and you have retirees, and they probably have, well, we know that they have some very different interests in terms of the type of facility they're looking for, the type of programming, recreational program that they're interested in. There's some common points. So we're looking for one thing for those common points to build on. And then we're also looking to make sure that we can help you guys serve people throughout their entire life cycle. But communicating that as part of your message to your population too, is that if we have this broad program for parks to implement, then we also have to give them the support they need to implement it. So these are a few pictures from the public open house. That's okay, you don't need to stay on there. Grace, thanks for lending your adorable children to the presentation. I appreciate that very much. They drew us pictures of their ideal parks. So we did have, I think, probably 10 or 15 kids over the span of the time, as well as some really active Parks and Recreation employees that did their own designs of what they'd like to see in an ideal park. So that helped us as well to understand what the possibilities are. We asked people to vote at 3 different points about the types of parks they needed. You can stay on the slide for a sec. And about the types of facilities they were interested in and the types of recreational programming that they wanted to see. So this first slide on the left is looking at the types of parks that they felt like they needed more of. Indoor recreational facilities got a pretty high number of votes, both in the public open house and in the follow-up activity. It was a children's concert, I believe, that Colleen and Ken took the posters to. So there was a second opportunity for community members to vote. Nature preserves ranked really high. One of the things that we saw in the survey results was, although people might not be visiting nature preserves every single day, maybe they go to the beach more often, it's a significant part of the identity that residents have of Port Aransas. And so whether they're in the nature preserve every day or not, your residents still really value your nature preserves, your natural areas, and your natural habitats as part of what makes Port Aransas special. We had most of our participants were more in sort of the northern part of Port Aransas, quite a few in the south though as well. We asked people to kind of put a pin on where they lived. Let's go to the next slide. And then we'll talk about the type of park design elements people wanted to see more park facilities. One thing that was really interesting to us that came up in a lot of individual conversations that we had, as well as previous meetings with the advisory committee that's assisting Colleen and Ken with helping vet some of the ideas for the parks plan, was the connections between parks were really highly prized. There is kind of an informal bike network that connects a lot of trails anyway, or some bike loops on your streets. But I think people want to see that become more official and more extensive. And that's what you see on the right-hand side scored. We scored kind of by dot as trail connections. In the internal park trails, which Colleen's working with rebuilding right now in some of your parks, is another high priority, as well as preserving your natural areas. So there was kind of an even distribution across a number of kind of second tier objectives like lighting, restrooms, performance spaces like your amphitheater in Roberts Point Park. And a few new things kind of showed up on the screen. Paddling and water sports was one of the things people expressed some interest in as well. So let's go to the next slide. So then you all have enormous number of recreational programs due to a number of different factors. First of all, you have a really ambitious park staff. And second of all, you all took on quite a few different opportunities to continue programs that might have been disrupted by Hurricane Harvey and subsequent storms. And so we asked people to help us prioritize what what investment in parks time should be. So one of the things that rated really high, if you look at the orange stripe across the top on that board, those are the columns beneath it that are kind of included. So under culture, music related and food and beverage ranked really high in what people wanted to see more of in terms of recreation programs. So that could be things like concerts, like you have the Sunset Sounds concerts, food and beverage related things, which could be restaurant related or farmers market, as well as other types of entertainment. Coming second was recreation programs that relate to nature, including guided excursions. There were some interesting things that kind of came out of several conversations and the survey about sort of adventure-based nature as well. So maybe offering some things that are a little bit less calm and a little more exciting was one of the things people wanted to kind of see happening in some of the guided excursions as well. And then on the athletic side, this was one of the places where we noticed that a lot of the votes we got really did focus on the adult sports facilities. And so we're going to be digging into whether that means that people are satisfied with the youth sport facilities, whether there's more demand for the adult sports, kind of what that breaks down into. And then health and fitness, we talked about the low impact aerobics before. So one of the things that's part of this conversation is what are the essential functions of parks and recreation and what are they staffed to be able to do, regardless of how talented they are. If they're spread too thin, it's going to be hard for them to deliver the kind of quality programming people want. So we know that we're going to continue to be offering children and family programs. And so it's looking at all these programs together and keeping our core focus on what the Parks Department is most skillful at and what they are the best prepared to deliver. Let's go next. All right, so this is really kind of Colleen's baby. The Parks Plan offered the opportunity to have a day of service, but I've never seen such active and committed volunteers who could dig a hole faster than I could sneeze. So we were stunned by the amount of plants that people got put into the ground at Roberts Point Park in that short period of time. If you guys get the opportunity, if you haven't visited, I would go take a visit, but I would also encourage all your friends and neighbors to go and see what an investment in a long-range parks plan can mean for the appearance of your community and one of your most beloved parks, as well as, affecting long-term maintenance and operations, and really creating some new native habitat by installing some native plants that Colleen identified and organized. So I believe you'll had about 25 or 30 participants. Is that right, Colleen?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And we put in, how many was it? Like 150 plants in 4 hours? Or is it even more?
It was
Yeah.
a lot. It was really ambitious.
It was really ambitious. And
I can't even tell you. I mean, the bags of mulch were even more than the plants. Like, that was the really impressive part.
And if you guys can see the picture on my far left, there's a man in a yellow shirt and his young son in a blue shirt. And those guys ferried mulch back and forth that 500-foot planting strip for 4 solid hours. And so they might need a little medal or Parks Award of their own someday for all that they did for this spot. But it was really impressive to see the quality of volunteer work. And I know you guys have trained them through the program, through the Parks program already. And, anything you can do to continue to engage, your volunteers the way that you do is going to just continue to contribute to the health of your park system. So let's see. Then we wanted to go through, how much longer do we have, Colleen? How much longer do you want to take?
Are they the last thing on the agenda?
I think are we?
No, it's
No.
the discussion of the
Oh, yeah.
budget.
If you could do you think you got 5 more minutes? Is that okay?
5 minutes is perfect. Let's keep
Okay.
rolling. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about goals. So one of the things that we do as we move towards actual recommendations is we make sure that we understand the goals of the community. And so the way that we build the goals that guide all the recommendations that kind of fall beneath them is we have conversations with the Parks Department, we have conversations with city leadership, but then we have conversations that are broader with all kinds of stakeholders that use the parks, that contribute to the parks, and that are just, really like they're interested in the long-term health and well-being of the parks. And so that includes personal conversations, but it also includes the survey respondents. It includes the public open house meetings. And so that's all the homework that went into the 5 goals that are in front of us here. We had some conversations with them, the advisory committee we've been working with on this process that would probably tweak some of the wording and the shape of this a little bit, but the 5 big takeaways that we have for the goals that are guiding what we do next are establishing a park system that prioritizes the needs of residents while also enhancing attractions for visitors, promoting those connections between parks, which is what we saw about the facilities and amenities people are wanting to see. They're wanting to know how to get between parks and really enjoy that journey between parks as well. Preserving natural habitat and open space for recreation and resilience of the community at large, promoting a full range of activities for people at each stage of their life, and finally enhancing, and we changed this one a little bit, so I'm going to see if I wrote the wordsmithing down correctly. Colleen, you can correct me if I got it wrong, but is enhancing the resilience of parks facilities to future natural disasters. So that would be aimed at minimizing the cost of repair and replacement and using siting and material selection that make it less likely that your parks will experience the level of damage you saw in Harvey in future events. So that's the 5-minute summation of where we're going in terms of goals. These are still live kind of goals, but we're hearing enough consistency among these 5 themes that this is where this is what we're proposing that we use to guide the next phases of discussion. So that's the conclusion of our presentation. If anybody wants to continue discussing, we're here.
Thank you, guys. It's really
Thank
fun to
you.
see this information come together and all the hard work and soliciting feedback. It's cool to see what it shapes up to be. It's
I really
helpful.
enjoyed the way that you guys set that open house up. It was very interactive. It was very user friendly. It was very non-judgmental, I guess. So I really enjoyed attending and the way you guys had it done. It was very good.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed interacting with you guys too.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so the next item is a general discussion on the fiscal year 22-23 budget requests. Did anybody, Colleen, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so every year in June, we put together our wish list for city council and the RDC to review. So we better start talking about it now. If you have, dreams of amenities or facilities, the HAF team is going to make recommendations and they're going to try and have those to us by June.
That was my next question, is what is their next step as far as getting us tangible like this?
Yeah, one of their tasks is to give us budget recommendations, and that could be facilities, amenities, staffing.
Yeah.
I've asked them to look at what other park communities are paying their employees because we saw such a lifeguard shortage. Like, I want to look at kind of like a market analysis of where our staff falls amongst other communities, to see if we're off base. So this budget wish list can cover anything. assessing the conditions assessment. I just got this today, so I think there will probably be some things that rise to the top here, like the playgrounds at Roberts Point Park are in really bad shape. I do have money budgeted this year to take them down, but then it hit me, if I take them down and we don't have something to put back up, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to hear about it. So we may want to time that very carefully to where, we're looking at September tear down, and then October 1st, I'm ordering the new stuff. Or, we may want to try and time it so that the missing playground is short-lived.
So you wouldn't, just with everything in the world and how long it takes to get anything new.
It may be
ordered.
something that we push to the next year.
This was like.
I put it in there as a
Would-
buffer
would it
because
order it now for like installation in a year from now. Does that make sense?
I'd have to get with Darla and see what we're allowed to do. If we're not spending the money till after October, the only thing is council would need to approve that we are allowed to spend that money. Like if I sign a contract for $100,000 playground, whether we pay for it this year or next year,
Yeah.
we're still committed to that money and the council has to approve that.
I guess this is like, if you don't want any lapse time as far as no playground, like would have to be ordered.
Is there any way that it can be that as much as has been budgeted for the tear down in this fiscal year, can it be put toward a down payment of ordering the new playground, and then by October we have the rest of the money to do the tear down and everything else, so that there isn't?
I don't think we're allowed to anticipate
Yeah.
council's approval.
Yes.
Like
Gotcha.
they have to sign off on us spending
I get what
anything
you're saying.
over $5,000.
Gotcha.
How
So
old is that park? How old is that equipment?
It's one half of it is pre-Harvey and one half is post. And looking at it this weekend, even the newest section is still degrading rapidly. It's powder coated stainless steel in a very salty environment. It was not the right material to
Okay,
choose
That
for.
was gonna be my next question is, are we looking at
Yes.
something?
We're
that
lucky
we don't
if a-
replace every 5 years.
Well, that's the thing is, I think you're lucky to get 10 years out of a playground, and that's just industry
That's- yeah, it is.
standard,
Okay.
unfortunately. Even if you build a wooden one,
Okay.
those have timelines on them too. And so there's some new materials that the sales folks are pushing. I want to say the playground at Palladium is made out of, it's called a 3M material. It's like the recycled park bench type material. So we should take a field trip over to Palladium and
We
check
can talk
out
about that
theirs.
later. I was
but-
just curious, so.
Yeah, but
Probably
this is, oh, hey, Kimberly.
I was just gonna weigh in on this, if it helps you guys as you move towards the decision. We're doing a concept plan for Roberts Point Park, and a big part of where we're going with the concept plan is giving you guys a concept to consider to redesign that play area based on the concerns that you've suggested. I know we have a meeting tomorrow morning to go through that. I don't know if the timing works out well, but maybe we could talk about how to take that concept as part of how you want the larger park to look and wrap that into what you want to spend for the coming year.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of surfaces and materials and configurations and drainage that are part of how we're looking at it. So it might help you guys make a decision you're going to be happy with long-term into the future.
Definitely. Yeah, it's not my comfort zone. It's something I'm really having to learn on the fly. Like I just looked at replacement matting for underneath the spinning feature at the playground, and it's $1,500 for a rubber mat to go underneath the merry-go-round. Like, so it's
Is there
professional
Band-Aids?
guidance needed.
Is there a Band-Aid you put in place until something?
We could use the money to patch it. Some of the patches, like replacing components, is like the bow of the ship was $8,000. I mean,
No.
it just
Don't
is
spend the money.
insane amounts to patch something
is there-
that's gonna go down. But as far as like touch-up paint, keeping it
Yes.
safe, we can do that.
How often do we meet?
I think that is the next agenda item.
Okay,
We're gonna need to
so-
decide when our
so
next meeting is.
And I know we're trying to get this done quickly, but the other thing I was gonna ask about was an indoor facility, because they talked about an indoor facility and it was very highly rated. And I know that we tried that before, but it was voted down. So is that something that we can revisit?
Oh, I think
It's a whole.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would
sorry.
anticipate.
Sorry, did I bring up something?
No, there has been history. So before the hurricane, it was a big initiative to have some type of recreational facility. Last year, we attempted to rejuvenate that with a different spin in that hotel motel taxes could have funded it. And it failed by 12 votes. So part of what the open space master plan is going to do is going to make recommendations for our community.
Okay.
I'm anticipating we'll see some iteration of that.
Yeah.
Budget requests then?
What's that?
So is this part of the budget request for?
So it could be, based on what HAF recommends in their open space master plan, it could include indoor facilities that we would then take to council and they could decide this needs to be a bond issue, or there's money in the RDC fund to do engineering and architecture or whatever.
You said that we have to put this wish list together by June?
June is when council starts to discuss and they have workshops and then it gets finalized in September and we can spend the money in October.
But looking at their timeline, it was going to be longer than that, right?
They know my wish list is due in June.
Okay, okay.
Yep,
That was my
that's
concern.
when she was talking about the accelerated timeline in the
Okay.
beginning. That's
Okay.
the big one.
we'd be able to hear their recommendations before we pass on any other recommendations in June.
We can time it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, we should time it that way.
But like, are there, I see like, there's no, like boardwalks are getting done. This is getting done and this, like all these different little things are getting done as far, and even like, I think there's even like a list in your director's report of like, this is what is being worked on.
Mhm.
So we just need to kind of look at that and like
Right, there's no need to request
request money.
Southern Trails in the nature preserve because FEMA's paying for that.
Okay. And then like, but like little.
But if it's on your wish list though, it's okay to bring it to me and I'll say, oh, that's a FEMA project or whatever.
Is something on your wish list as far as Roberts Point Park, not Roberts Point, Community Park? We've talked about in the past, is like moving the swing set to near the park and like doing something else other in that space. Is that still on the, are you waiting?
I've been kind of waiting for the HAF recommendations because, you know, is that going to be future real estate for indoor facilities? It's the same reason why the parking lot's in such bad shape and the volleyball
Okay.
court never came back because it's like, I don't know what we're doing out there, so I don't want to put in a new
Okay.
beautiful thing and
Okay.
then the next year build a rec center on top
Okay.
of it. So
Okay.
I've been in this weird limbo. But I would say if there's something on your list that is very important to you, bring it and we'll figure out where it fits.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So next meeting.
We're in number 6. I think you got to do it.
Oh, I'm
Next
sorry.
meeting in the next item.
In the next item.
Yeah, I think that's the place to stick it
Okay.
because it's
So
not its own item.
any board member comments or items for future consideration? Anyone?
Do we need to email those wish lists to you? You're about to leave. So
Who
who
do
do
we,
we
Yes.
need
who do
to
we want,
email
who do you want
those
us to
to?
email?
CC Mr. Ken on it.
Okay.
K
Okay.
Yarbrough
Okay.
at cityofportaransas.org.
Can you spell your last name?
YARBROUGH.
Okay.
At what is it? I'm sorry, city.
Cityofportaransas.org, same as mine.
Okay.
First initial, last name, and then
You
the
want-
city.
Don't take your email. Don't.
You know I'm going to. Um, So Ken will be the representative
Okay.
at the next Parks Board
Okay.
meeting for the park staff.
Okay.
And you all need to decide when you want that to be.
Okay.
Are we going for a Monday night again?
Typically, it was the third Monday of the month.
Third Monday of the month.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice to fall back on that. This is only because we didn't have a quorum. And I'm a ticking time bomb.
So May third Monday in May, is that what we're saying?
That's the
Or
16th.
was this the third Monday? This was supposed to be the third Monday in March, right? So do we need to do another one for the third Monday in April?
You're only required to meet quarterly, I
Okay,
believe.
Right.
But if
We're just
there's
trying to
things
get-
that you're trying to work on, you
Okay.
can meet more frequently. We are a little short-staffed on the administrative side right now. If that influences your decision.
So could we look at the 16th or the 23rd? We have
Of
5 Mondays.
what
in
month are
May,
we in?
So
Of May?
Of May?
Of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 16th works better for me, but
Either one.
If the 16th is good.
Mhm.
Okay,
I think so.
all right.
Okay.
So the 16th at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
All right. Any other items for future agenda? Hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
And a second,
Second.
we are adjourned.
All right,
you.
only 1 minute.